So, A&B is the greatest archive anyone could ever ask for.
You know, of all the books I've read, of all the other online tutorials I've seen, this was the missing key.
Every video is like packed with this information that I would never be able to get anywhere else. So I would say this is the greatest resource for learning animation.
For me, A&B Animation Library is hands down the best animation learning resource that I've seen. I've tried all the tutorials, I've gotten all the books. I've never been able to really grow until I found A&B.
And it's incredible. I've only just begun it, but I definitely am getting more from that than I did from my 1.5 years of college.
I've noticed definitely that my animation has improved a lot, and it's more alive than ever. And what I also like about this animation training is that you also gain real confidence.
Real Animator Training Library is unequivocally the best resource for animation, 2D animation, traditional hand-drawn animation that I've seen.
So I wholeheartedly recommend the A&B Real Animator Training Library to anybody who wants actual knowledge and actual applicable concepts to create their own animation and to move forward in the field of animation and to set your work above those that are just kind of teaching themselves and not learning these tried and true classic concepts.
A&B is motivated by his students' successes and improvements. He's a great teacher, a great animator with over 20 years experience in the industry, so you can't really get much better than that. I strongly recommend him to anybody.
I'm thinking on how to put in words what I feel about it. I love that. It approached me from my dream of becoming an animator. Every cent I paid in there was worth it.
I like that the library is structured. I can go back and watch it anytime I want to, and he's just got so much knowledge. And I just highly recommend it to anyone who's out there looking to learn traditional 2D animation.
So thank you, MB, so much. And thank you so much for all you done for me.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of A&B Animation Livestream, the place where we help you become the real deal at animation. So this stream is going to be a kind of like a intermediate kind of stream, because I'm going to be starting up a new series, and I'm going to give you a little taste of that, of lectures that are going to go into the Pro Archive, where I go through some of my old storyboards that I've done professionally in the industry, and I talk you through the process, the script, adapting the script, the choices that I made, the material that you're expected to have when you work as a storyboard artist. Or not just, because the climate's changed now, it's also going to be about what you should be doing if you're priming your own projects. I don't like that camera angle. There we go. If you're priming your own projects, what's professional practice? What kind of mentality should you be putting into your own? I didn't receive your message on Facebook, Silver Sun. I'm not sure what it is. Let's see what Silver Sun has messaged me, because this is kind of like an Ask the Animator stream. Actually, I don't actually look at Facebook messages. Hang on. I think you would have done it on my on that group, in the Growth, Development and Progress group. So Kevin Silver, I I am open to that, Kevin, but as you say, it's, you know, it's extremely like, it's extremely, I have a lot of work on. So I am open to look at stuff, but obviously you're very private about what it is. So when I help people without cost, then I basically look at the stuff and then stream it so that everybody gets helped, and that way I'm helping time. But if I was to help somebody individually privately, that would be more of kind of like a mentoring thing that would eat into my time from my business and stuff. So I do like helping people. I do like looking at things, but to give it a proper look, to read it properly, and to go over it personally with you, that's a fair amount of time. But I'm send it to me anyway, and I might be able to glaze over it at some point. Because you and I have got you know, you've been a long-time member of the training library, and you followed me for a long time, so I don't like saying no, you know, even though I tell people, and I tell my daughter, you got to learn to say no. But send it to me, and I'll see if I can glaze over it, but I can't promise anything. I can't promise anything. I have been considering doing personal one-to-one Zoom, not really Zoom or Discord things, where if people want me to individually look at their things, but then there'll have to be a fee for that. But I haven't really put that into place because I'm not, you know, it's not a priority of mine. So send it to me anyway, and I'll have a look. I'll see if but as I said, I can't promise anything. But you know, if you don't ask, you don't get, Kev. So that's the way to do things. All right, so now thank you so much, Nathaniel Thompson. Now, the point of today's stream is, it's a kind of question and answer stream, but I'm going to animate a character's head turn. Now, I've done this many times. Now, I want you to pick the character, and I'll Google it. And I want you to give me some examples of characters that you'd like to see me animate. I'll just straight up Google it. I need to get back into some drawing muscles because I've been doing a lot of editing at the moment, condensing my Badger series because it's going in the library, so in the edutainment section. So I haven't done any serious drawing, so this is a good way for me to loosen up. So suggest some characters in the chat that you'd like to see me animate the head turn off, and I'll animate that head turn. I'll show you how to adapt your style and all that. Now, while you're suggesting those characters, oh yeah, throw me in the deep end, why don't you, Nathaniel? The Beast from Beauty and the Beast. You know what? I like a challenge, but I'm not going to take that immediately, right? I'm not going to take that. I'm going to read a few other suggestions, but now you're all going to call me a chicken if I don't do that one. Yeah, maybe I'll do it. I'll show what a badass I am. All right, no. But like before I do that, while you guys are suggesting the characters, I'm going to switch screens and Beast the beard that his head turns. Right, while the characters let me switch my mic. Okay, so can you hear me loud and clear? I'd like it to be streamed to help others, but it's a project that's still I understand that. Piglet. Ooh, Piglet's cute. Okay, so while you guys keep suggesting your characters, I'm going to give you a taste of what's coming in the Pro Archive. So this is one of my favorite storyboards that I did. I did it in 3 weeks, actually. It's a whole half-hour episode that I did in 3 weeks. And I'm going to talk you through this. I found this on my old drive, and I'm so glad that I've got it. So this was for Nickelodeon. It was called The Mad Hatter Chronicles. And the show itself I didn't think much of, but I really had fun with the storyboards. And I'm going to talk you through. There's lots of exciting stuff happening in this So I'm going to be talking you through. I'm not going to, obviously, I'm not going to use the entire thing for the stream, but I'm going to be talking you through stuff that goes on here. So we've got this really fun character here. Let me find the more fun stuff. Okay, so she comes out of so all of this is basically my call. These are all my shots that I come up with. So remember, you guys have got to be coming up with names in the chat. So let me find, I'm going to keep scrubbing. I'm going to find some interest. So interesting, they're walking along here and this foot comes out of the wall, trips them up. And then he appears like, then this hand comes and taps him. Then like he gets his gun out. And then out appears this character. So all of this stuff has to just be knocked out. And by the way, I just had to come onto the show and hit the ground running with all these new characters and all these environments, never drawn them before, never seen them before. So I'm going to tell you about the challenges that story artists face. But I basically enjoyed this because I got to give this guy my own personality, right? The way he was written in the script, he had a personality, but they didn't really describe his movements. They didn't really describe what kind of person he was, or so let me find the second half of the stream is a lot more so here he's here there was a really gross out thing where he was he created his castle out of earwax. I mean, that's what was in the script. I mean, and to come up with an idea of how to create his castle out of earwax, you know, that was just something I had to just go with my subconscious, just at the time to think about how to do these things. I'm going to disclose about solving these kind of challenges because like being a storyboard artist is completely, you know, being an animator definitely helps though, because you'll see that as I was talking about this guy here, you can really see, and then the director kind of gets your vision. So yeah, here I think he has a showdown with so he falls down there, and then he kind of has a showdown with this guy here. See, look, so I came up with this idea that he'd come out of the ground and pick it up with his foot and collect it like that. So being an animator definitely helps you tell the story a lot better, because you can really this is really chugging because I've got two storyboards open. This is kind of like a little taste of what we got. No, it wasn't cancelled. You know, it had 2 seasons. 2 seasons. It had toys and figures and all that stuff. It was like my storyboards look better than the finished show because it was this really butt ugly looking CG thing. I mean, if it was 2D, it would have been great, right? You can really see the potential for my boards, but when you see the CG, the cheap TV CG, it's just awful. So here I was drawing from 1980s Ghostbusters. I could even hear the music in my head. I said that all the ghosts are going to escape from the book, so it was going to go, my baby told me once, my baby told me twice, 3 times nice, please. So as I was storyboarding that, I was imagining that. That was my mindset reference in there. And of course, there's lots of, there's lots of action. And this is very different to, say, another... I'm going to be contrasting this with another kind of storyboard that I did for a different kind of series, Horrid Henry, which was just kind of like very, very like child sitcom kind of stuff, whereas this is more like action, adventure, comedy sort of thing. So that's it. Let's see how those suggestions are coming. Beast head turning shouldn't be. It's when I see the beast head turning with its beard, lips, and teeth. I'm not sure. Like the beast has always got a beard, so Okay, so we've got the Beast, we've got Amphibia or Gravity Falls. I'm really not into that kind of like, that's kind of anti what I do. That's like really like the weak stuff, like, you know, that kind of stuff is created, designed to be animated by software. Whereas I'm about like celebrating drawing skill and stuff like that. But I'll have a look. Maybe I can knock out one of their head turns in like 2-3 seconds or something like that. I don't know, but that's an exaggeration. But seriously, if you had the software, that's all it is. You just put put the head there, inverse the head, right? Inverse the head, put a little dip, front view head, and then ease out of it and click it. It's just really robotic, awful animation, which is not what AMB animation real animator training's about. So I'm gonna be going for the more artistic, the more real animator kind of stuff. So there's lots of stuff. As you can see at the end here, it was getting insane. Like he had to climb this tower and he had to climb this tower and fight. And I was listening to the RoboCop, the 1980s RoboCop soundtrack when I was storyboarding all this. So so here he goes, right? So like I literally had like just 2 or 3 days to do the final showdown, right? So the background drawing was getting very rough, you know, but I really wanted to get the feel of this thing. So 3 weeks to do a half-hour show full of action with multiple characters and lots going on. It's a difficult ask, but I'm really, really happy with this board, and it turned out to be the director's favorite. This episode, right? So they get him there, and then he goes, he comes out and he goes bang in the spirit trap, boom, like that. Right. Okay, right. That's that. Yeah, the show did look really bad, but when you look at the boards, you see what potential it had. Right, I'm going to close that now. So that's a taste. So we're going to be doing a series for the Professional Archive looking at professional animation practice, and we're going to be taking a deep dive into storyboarding. It's always fun to see those simpler designs get a fuller animation treatment. Yeah, you see, I kind of understand where you're coming from, but I don't agree, because James Baxter is great and all that, but I didn't really rate what he did on that. I'm going to come out and say it. Just because he's James Baxter, I'm not going to drop down and worship whatever. He's good, yeah, but I'm not going to, like, there's only so much you can do with a turd. It's going to stink. That's my view. So I looked at what James Baxter did with it, and I wasn't impressed. That's just my honest opinion. It's just like, and that's not blaming James Baxter. I mean, if you're gonna put turd in his hands, what's he gonna do? You know, he can smear it here and smear it there and make a sandcastle out of it, but it's still gonna stink. That's just my view. Respectfully. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I'm grateful that there are people in this world that can appreciate that look. I don't have the maturity or the capacity yet to overcome my revulsion for that particular style. Hey Daydream Dragon, how are you? Hello to you. Okay, so we have got yeah, Murphy, nice shooting, son. What's your name? We have got some suggestions. Reptile from Mortal Kombat. Cathead. Hey, Lotus Petal. Okay, let's. I never liked Mortal Kombat. I must admit the Japanese did fighting games a lot better than the US. I didn't like that whole motion capture thing. It's just ugly design, but let's see. I don't remember him. I just don't want to jump in and do the beast. Images. Oh, he's just a ninja guy with a ninja mask with a reptile head. There are so many different versions of him that I don't really know which one to choose for that. Tasmanian Devil. We did a Tasmanian Devil a little while ago. It's still on my, if you want to see, it's still on my videos. Okay, so we've got the beast. I think it's just the beast, reptile from Mortal Kombat, Hades from Hercules with fire hair. Okay. Hades, Hercules. Yeah, Hades from Hercules will be fun. Maybe we'll save that for another one, because I tell you what, something in me just wants to do the beast, you know. Beast, Disney, model sheet, rough animation. That's what I'm Googling. That's what I want to see, the line art. All right. Okay, that's interesting. I need to have some references of his head. No point trying to draw and animate him without seeing his head. Okay. Beast Disney model sheet. Let's get rid of rough animation. I want to see Glenn Keane's Beast, since he's the guy who designed it. Okay, we've got that. I don't actually, they don't actually have many beast heads, which is, I don't want to spend the entire stream looking for heads, so I might have to jump to Hades and come back to this, because, man, Google has become trash. Beauty and the Beast model sheets. Let me just try this last thing. Beauty, and because without the model sheets, I've got very little to go on. I've got Belle. I've got Gaston. I've got Mrs. Potts. Isn't it funny we don't have the Beast, the central character? Very, very frustrating. Okay, I'm just gonna have to look at the Beast. Beast. Disney. Maybe I can make it from lots of different headshots. I can make my own head turn, but I won't really have much of okay, the wheels in my head have been turning since I've looked at this Google image. And man, that's really, really annoying. Okay. Oh, okay. I've got something here. I've got something here. Yeah, alright. Let's try this. Let's try this. Okay. So I'm going to try and animate the Beast from these few poses that I've seen. Right? So, let's draw in red. Let's first check how the live stream is going. We can all hear me. We can all see what's happening. How many minutes have gone? Hey, they're not telling me how many minutes. 25 minutes. Okay. Right. So, I'm gonna begin. Man, this is a good way to warm up my drawing skills after not having drawn for a while. I'm gonna begin with okay, so this comes out here like this. We're going to begin with something of a pose like this. Right. I'll have to work out the back of his head on this pose because the image I'm looking at doesn't really have what his back of his head looks like there, but we'll work that out. Okay, so we've got that. We're going to go from that into this. Okay, right. So now he's going to have a bit of a change of a personality. So his eyes are going to come up. I can almost hear it. See, this is what being a real animator is. It's having pure and absolute faith, belief and confidence in yourself that you can do anything, right? Which you can when you have learned the right principles. So much as though like the me of maybe in my early 20s and late 30s would have been shit scared and thinking Glen Keane the beast. Like now I'm like, okay, let's draw the beast. Okay, so he's gonna do that. And we're gonna have this. Where he's gonna... Oh, I did not expect this stream to be so good today. Well, I don't know if you guys are gonna enjoy it, but I'm definitely gonna enjoy this. I've got a soft spot for this film. Of all the Renaissance films, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin and Mermaid are the ones that remain in my heart as being the greats, the great ones. So I'm going to figure out my keys here. Right, so now between here and here I've got to have the turn. So I've got to make up a... So he's going to dip his head here. He's going to turn it here, right? So let's use this one. This one. Right. I got to draw a series of these heads, and I'll have to worry about the body and figure out how to, because I couldn't find a model sheet of the beast. I can't quite see his horns there. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I'll familiarize myself with it. Go through various different expressions. See, once you understand facial anatomy, it's actually quite simple, really. Okay, so he's going to look up there and he's going to look down there. Let's see some. Okay, so now the challenge is from here to here, right? So he's going to look up happily. He's going to look up happily. And he's going to drag his head and turn into this. Okay, so the challenge, the other made up pose, once I've done this, I'm good to go. All right. So let's find something. What do we have? What do we have? Let's go back. Back. Let's go back one. Back one. Okay, yeah, this is gonna be the bastard one. This is gonna be the bastard one, but we're gonna solve it. I'm gonna have to try and come up with my own front view of the beast, right? In this one, with very little. But we want to drag that head. What? Well, how did that happen? I put it in the wrong place. Okay, so I'm gonna take that. Edit, cut. Edit, paste. Bring it on. He's going to drag his head there. I'm going to look down. Oh yeah, I can see where this is going. Okay, right. Now let's draw. Let's draw. Let's see. So that's basically the animation. The different directions you catch are pretty sharp enough. Nice, man. That's a good job already. I promised myself I'd be drawing the beast right now. Draw along with me. Come on. Let's be the real deal. Draw along with me. Draw along with me. Let's be the real deal. Okay, right. Let's now draw. So I've got to go back to my first image here. Now I'm just going to focus on the actual. Let me turn the onion skin off. I'm going to focus on the actual head and worry about getting his body later, right? So let's not going to go 100% copy. I'm going to familiarize myself more and more with this. I love the beast, but I've hardly ever actually drawn him, so I'm just going to slow down a little bit here. So we've got this shape coming in here. And it looks like I'm not using construction, but believe me, I am. All of those things I teach in real animator training are now being subconsciously utilized to familiarize myself with this. So here we've got the usual under eye zygomatic construction coming in here. Glenn Keane being somebody who absolutely loves anatomy, right? So we've got more of a proper 3/4 here. So this nose is super wide. He's more than one eye width apart, so this nose is actually super wide there. So that's something problem that I have in mind. Right? Now we're gonna have the eyebrow come down like that. I'm gonna keep this loose. So seriously, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to plug the Real Animator Training Library. If you're looking at the screen right now, it's a bit early on, but you're thinking, man, look, this guy can just come onto a live stream, take a really complex character like the Beast, which he's never drawn before, and bust it out as if it's a scene from the exact movie. Seriously, the kind of training I offer is the kind of training that will guide and enable you to be able to do that. I've spent the past 8, 9, almost 9 years of my life now building this archive filled with this information that is going to decode all of this for you. And of course, I'm a great animator, right? Let's not pretend that I'm not. But I graduated at the time when hand-drawn animation in the Renaissance was no longer being done, right? A couple of years after I graduated, Lilo and Stitch and Treasure Planet were out, and they were the last, right? So you had Home on the Range, but nobody cared, you know, Princess and the Frog, but nobody cared. So although I got to work on some hand-drawn stuff, it was mainly B-grade movies like 8 Crazy Nights and European films like El Cid the Legend, and then I had to change and become a storyboard artist. So you're watching somebody who never actually worked at the big Disney studios, right? And I'm still pumping out Renaissance quality animation live while talking to you, right? Easily, with no effort. I'll tell you why. Because I'm trained in real animator training. Basically, all of the things that I've shared with you are the things that are going to get you to that level. These guys are to be respected. These guys are to be admired. But their fingers pointing to the truth. All right? They're not beyond you. They're not above you. You're more than capable of doing this stuff. And that's why I'm here giving you that example. Right? So, I'm familiarizing myself with this guy. Let me just flip that. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Right. That's there. So on top of there, he's got brows above his eyebrows, which is interesting. This is obviously his bone of his frontal bone. Like the brow section of his frontal bone is where that's coming from. Of course, what you will also see, interesting, we've got a hump here, interesting, which this horn, from a silhouette perspective, this horn comes here. What you'll see is you'll see me speeding up as well. As I'm familiarizing it looks like I'm just copying and illustrating, which is why I like to talk about real animator training, because ultimately that's not what I'm doing. It looks like I'm just copying the drawing, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to have to show you, because otherwise you're just not going to believe me. I'm consolidating his construction while I'm doing this. Right? Because what I see is very different to what a layman sees, or what a beginner sees, or what somebody who just dabbles with lesser courses sees, right? That basically a lot of these courses that you're not learning the real anatomy, the real construction secrets. You're basically just following along and copying what the guy's drawing, right? With real animator training, that's very different. So what I'm going to leave his head, I'm going to come back to his body on the next frame. So let me tell you what I see here before I jump on to the next drawing, so you can kind of understand what it is, right? So his brow hair is like the frontal bone of his face. These are the eye sockets. You've always seen me drawing this thing, right? Then we've got the zygomatic bone, which is hair, right? So I'm figuring out how many eye widths apart he is, right? How big his frontal bone is, right? Which is this huge hump hair like this. I'm figuring that out. I'm also figuring out his nasal bone, right? And his, what his cartilage is doing, right? Because that comes out, and it's diamond shaped. So this would be his maxilla, right? I'm working out the beast's anatomy, right? I'm working out, let me draw this nicely. I'm working out the beast's anatomy. Right? Which will be something like this, and then it will turn like that, the way cartilage turns on those animal creatures. And then we've got and then his jaw, right? Because his beard's out here like this, his jaw has to be powerful and big, right? But it doesn't look it because we've got this, right? But then his bottom teeth is like that. So in my mind, I'm figuring out this guy's anatomy as I'm drawing it, right? And then obviously his ears. So I'm figuring all this stuff out as I'm drawing it, right? And then on top of that, I'm then turning that into shapes, right? I'm having eye line with the usual brow shape, right, around it, right? Then we've got the nose, which is going to be this diamond shape, but we can't, although he's got that, we can't make it flat. We've got to kind of favor one side like that. We've got the triangle diamond, which continues down here, but then obviously we're going to put a bit of dimension on that. And his foremouth. Now what he's got coming out of the zygomatic bone, we're going to bring that all into the foremouth. Like that, and then the jaw is going to come out there like that. So I basically, this is what I'm seeing when I'm drawing, right? It looks like I'm just doing all that, but no, my inner brain is seeing all this, right? So when you watch people drawing really, really complex and animating really, really complex characters, the difference between me and them when I explain is as I give you the reality and the real secrets of what it is. I don't just make it look like I'm untouchable, like this is like that it's just my ability, right? It's at the end of the day, there's a formula. And I'm not giving you that formula exact now, I'm rushing through it, but I've spent almost a decade sharing the secrets of this formula with you in my Real Animator training library, and that's the difference. That is the difference. So now I'm going to try and bring this guy up here like this. So let's bring his head up. So we're going to have to bring his head higher than we had it. Now I'm going to look at the shape of his mouth. Here. We're going to change his expression. That's enough. That's all I need. Now I'm going to turn off the light box, right? I'm going to bring the eye line up here. This is exactly, if I was to turn back time, then find the way. If I was to turn back time, right? And I was to be like a newbie starting at Disney Studios, and they would say, hey, you're on the Beast team, right? I would spend my first day doing exactly what I'm doing on this live stream right now. I'd be looking at pre-existing material of the Beast, right? Familiarizing myself with the model, and having a play through, just doing a various kind of head turns and things like that, and changes of expression, just to familiarize myself with the character. Of course, I'm using reference here, but I'm having to also kind of like change the image that I'm referring to make my animation match, to make these drawings relate, because the drawings I'm looking at while they're the same model and the model relates, the actual animation, they're taken from different scenes. So Glenn Keane doesn't really care so much about volume control, and that's why I love his work more than most of the Renaissance animators, because I found that when the shift came too much to tight volumes, the expressiveness and the liveliness from the days of the 9 Old Men was starting to get lost, and we had this everybody was trying to animate like a computer, right? And that's not what we want. So he doesn't have such a big foremouth here, so this big foremouth shows the change in squash and stretch. So as he's really smiling, he's smiling high to himself there, like that. All right. So we have something like that. And the bottom lip, I've got to make that bottom lip somehow distribute the mass to make it relate. That works. We're going to come down here with the chin. So again, I'm looking at this shape I told you, which exists within the character. We've got the his brows are much bigger here, but I'm gonna shrink them down to relate to my... See, that's what I love. The consistency of the character is good, but it isn't perfect. And what people, a lot of people today just, they're not learning animation. They're learning consistency, or trying to aim for consistency. They don't learn it, sorry, because they're still shit at it, because they're learning the wrong things. But they're aiming for consistency, and they're aiming to do what a computer can do better than they can ever do, right? And the secret and the magic of great Disney animation was the change of shape. You know, which is again why, personally, my personal favorite is probably Andreas Deja still, just because of that connection. But if I was to say who I thought was the goat of the Renaissance, it probably would be Glenn, because of his just devil-may-care attitude with consistency. You know, he just wanted to get the magic of the Lounsbury style, kind of like, just consistency is important, but this is drawing. Let's celebrate that it's drawing. And let's create a really living, breathing character. Now, what's that on the side of the head? We got a bit of this coming here, there, like that. Right. Now, all of that gets contained within this space here. Right. I may need to blow this head up a bit, because while I'm talking about consistency, it should be squashing and stretching more in relation to this. And while I've more or less got the bulk of the thing right, the expression is very different. So the whole head probably needs to be blown up by a little. So my brain is kind of solving all these problems as I go along. I'm kind of seeing things, even though I'm being rough here. The whole point is to do this as a demo on a stream, so I'm drawing more than I would be drawing if I was off stream and learning this character. But okay, so we've got the horn there like that. And where's his other horn? His other horn here is like that. So that's interesting. I may have to change this so this goes with this. All right. It's all about coming back and revising shapes. Interesting. I love this frontal bone with the brows are still there. He's still got those brows even at this angle of the frontal bone like that. That's great. Now we're going to have this come here like that. I'm going to work on his costume, but before I do that, I am going to take this and just bring him up a bit. Maybe that's a little too much. Right. See, this is one of the benefits of modern software. If I was on paper, or if I was not being live, you know what I would do? I would draw it again, because that's an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the character some more. So being economical with time is great, but if you're learning and you're trying to, this is why I'm always saying the software is the toilet, right? If you're learning and you're trying to be economical with time, then it's not really advisable, right? So that's interesting. I can almost hear the Robbie Benson singing. She glanced this way. I thought I saw. You can all tell where this, if you know the movie, you can all tell where this particular frame is from, right? Well, you know, there's something there that wasn't there before. I used to drive my school teachers insane with my singing of this music when I was in the... Okay, so now I'm going to take this and this, right? So let's go to next panel. So I'm going to now make my... Let's put that a little bit lower like that. So we're putting in a body here like this. Let's bring this higher. Keep it rough, you know. The rough lines fudge parts of the model that I don't know or understand. Right. Go back there. And actually, that wouldn't be the case, right? What I'm going to do, rather than trying to animate like a schoolboy, is I'm going to find the center line. Right. Solve this problem. So his chest will be there. His neck's there, like so. This will be here, like this. Right. And that's where I've got to kind of change that. Right. A little bit rough. Okay, that'll do for now. That'll do, pig, that'll do, right? We can go and refine all that later, right? So he's going to look up and smile to himself, right? How are we doing for time? How long's this taking? Oh, we're not even an hour in. Let's see what you're saying. Would you say his face is more like a bull or a gorilla? I think it's a wildebeest, Glenn Keane said, or a buffalo. All kinds of things. The Phantom of the Opera. That's a great musical. Okay, Silver Sun is working at the moment. Let's just see what's going on in the chat. Hey, Snake. Lion, bull, wolf. That's pretty good for your own ability of your beast, your ideas of the beast movements. Oh, thank you so much, Nathaniel. Repro baby, how are you? Do you have any advice on how to make a scene using a nighttime colors? Every time I darken my color palette to emulate nighttime, it looks weird. Okay, don't use software. Understand color theory. Understand analogous colors. Understand basically contrast as well. Complementary colors, triads are good for nighttime, and mix with the analogous colors. So basically, if you look at a color wheel, they all go together. The colors all blend next to each other. So you want the nighttime is going to be dark, but then you want one popping, contrasting color of real rim light, of real, like maybe if you got blue, you want a greenish yellow. And then you want to lean into some purples of your other, like mood lighting is purple, but then your harsh light may be more greenish yellow to create that. So you want to research a little bit on color theory. Okay, thank you guys. Now we're going to get back to the next pose. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one away. We're going to jump into this one here. So I'm going to copy this. And it's like shifting my paper off the pegs so I can refer to this and this, right? I'm going to go to this one here, right? So now we are going to use right, okay. They're going to be a lot higher. He gonna be bigger, son. I'm going to make him bigger. He needs to be bigger. There. Right, so we're going to have... Yep. That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Right, so I'm going to just go from hair to hair. I don't really need to... let's draw in blue. Let's draw in blue. Right, so we got his eye here. Let's turn that on. I'm going to move that up. I thought I moved it higher, but the rough was not good. That's what we want. That's better. Now I can flip, right? Then we're going to go 1, 2, going to put this here like that. So hair is more of a, this is not so much of a 3/4. This seems more like what we call a 3/4 front, right? And what I really like, again, what Glenn, I don't know, when I was little, I always called Glenn Keane, like when I was 15, I called him Glenn Bob. What Glenn Bob does is he's really showing the expertise of squash and stretch here, right? Let me just look at those eye shapes. I've got to have the integrity of the original that I'm looking at, but have it match what I'm doing. There's nothing in the world for me that matches hand-drawn animation in terms of pleasure. Like, what greater pleasure is there than drawing lines and shapes and watching them just be representative of emotion, passion, personality, you know. There used to be a saying for the old Nintendo Entertainment System advert. Now you're playing with power, right? Which is funny because it was only an 8-bit system, right? But for me, I've always remembered that and felt that when I'm doing hand-drawn animation, that's what I'm doing. I'm playing with power. Right? Slowly, slowly, I'm beginning to understand this guy's nose. Right? That's that. Now we've got these zygomatic cheeks, right? Which are gonna frame nicely in here like this. It's got this cute little smile coming here, right? Little bit of an open mouth as he's getting excited to himself. I've gone and made his mouth a little bit bigger there. And he's got this line here to kind of give him that front thing there. He knows what he's doing with his anatomy. Excellent. Right, we've got the under eye socket there, like that. Right. Let's just scribble that out, show that his mouth's open. His bottom lip is... I'm starting to use more my previous drawings, and I don't want to veer and get too off model. It looks like I've got a good grasp of the character, but really it's just early days. I'll never really be able to draw and animate this character like I owned him unless I'd been doing him for about a month, to be very honest with you. However impressive this demonstration is, I like to keep it real, right? I'll still be needing reference materials and looking, am I on model? Am I on model? And the beauty, of course, of hand-drawn animation is no matter how much you work and you try to be on model, because you're making those marks, you're never on model, right? And they try to bring a cleanup guy to ensure that it's on model, but you still end up seeing the expressions of the... That's why everybody says, no matter who it is, when Don Bluth designs a character, people say it just looks like Don Bluth. So every time I draw something, my wife goes, "You're drawing yourself." And I'm like, I'm not drawing myself, but it's just what happens You know, your features, your expressions, you know nobody's facial expressions better than you know your own, right? Now I've got to change this because his color is affecting his jowls, right? So I have to change that, right? That's where I'm gonna have to make a little bit of a change, because this scene I'm looking at is from the ballroom, right? We're not in the ballroom. He's not wearing that ballroom garment, right? So arguably it would be even more like that, right? More of a slant coming down, and the ear will come out to balance that negative space, right? It's another way of making sure that your drawings are to, okay, so that's this shape, and we come off it like that, right? And we got this one is a little bit more of a, as I said, I'm really having to look on this one, because maybe I'm gonna put his chest hair, because that's kind of what's throwing me, right? So I'm going to create this. I'm going to animate now without looking at that, because looking at that is slowing me down and throwing me, because I'm worried too much about the head, right? So we need to change this up a bit. See, a lot of lay people are just going to look at the drawing and think, oh, that looks like the beast, that's good enough. That's why they accepted those awful video sequels, right? Believe it or not, I have a hard time believing and accepting it, but all of the great Glen Keane stuff, a lot of mums who bought the sequels for their kids, a lot of average everyday people who just want to consume entertainment, and that's, you know, bless them, that's who this stuff is made for, right? It's made for an audience. So I'm not belittling them in any way, but they don't see the differences. So somebody who just do a really stiff beast animation, let me just focus on this. I'm gonna use my structure here. See, this is straining my left-right brain to draw the same. It's essentially the same thing, but I'm inversing it. It's like trying to write backwards when you try and do the other angle for the first time, right? It's like trying to write almost like dyslexic, like with things going back the other way around, right? So I've just got to, so I'm using these structural tricks to get that right. Now I'm going to flip that there. I'm not going to look at this anymore, because his squashing and stretching is too much squashing and stretching of the jowls. So I'm going to be more interested in looking at my previous one now and tying that together. So we've got this big hump. We don't want to forget that big hump. That's what kind of makes the character. So we're going to have him rise even higher. Excitedly. We'll have a little bit of that there. Right. That'll do for now. Of course, they don't make eyes like this in the new style of Disney drawing, which is why I don't like the new style of Disney drawing. I love these old school, I call them 80s Disney eyes, right? The Black Cauldron had them. Then they started trying to make all these weird kind of ethnic looking eyes and things like that. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but it then one film led to another film led to another film where I felt that the style lost its appeal for me personally. The house style, they called it, which is what I loved, the Disney house style. Okay, yeah, so that drawing was a bit more of a challenge. So I deliberately changed the color to change things up a bit, right? So mentally for me, right? So I'm going to delete that. Now I'm going to come on to the last pose, right? Which is going to be this one. Right. But I'm changing it up a bit, right? So I'm going to take this, and just like I'm going to put it on another sheet of paper like the peg bars and adjust it for my reference, I'm going to do this here and here like that. So again, we're doing an arc, right? A nice big arc. And the thing is what will make this animation is the timing, and you want to have a big weighty guy like this have weight. Alright, so let's go ahead in with this. Now I'm going to push this pose a bit more. It's the eyebrows that make it, but I'm going to slightly change it and see if I can make my own expression out of it, right? Because he's not actually making this expression. Then what I'll do is I may have to adjust the I may have to adjust the model size. Well, I can use it from flipping there. So you see, I'm not going from hair to hair, right? I should a little bit, or just to kind of give myself an idea of that, right? I like this nose, the way this nose is playing with the down angle, right? Like that. He's got all kind of fur and hair on that, but that I will draw all that in if I was going to be tidying it up. Right now I really need to concentrate on getting the characters. I'm trying to animate a little bit of my own expression in this last one. I'm using heavily on this expression, I'm borrowing heavily from it, but what's this, the teeth, bottom teeth come there like that. So he's got miserable again. That's what I really like about this character, is he gets miserable. He's like a child. He's happy and he's sad at the same time. Really deep, really good acting, really strong stuff. So we have something like that. the beard. Many times, also, if I was serious about this piece of animation, I'm doing this drawing to get the model and the volume because I'm giving you a demo at the moment, right? And working out how to draw it. But actually, I would come back and redraw it so that it relates more to the above pose, right? But at the moment, I'm almost animating like a TV animator. I'm just thinking about tie down, right? Trying to tie down, like animate this stuff. Really exacting to model because we're doing a demo. So it's not this drawing might be looking nice, but it's not necessarily gonna relate as well as I would like to. But I'm gonna use a little bit of a timing. There's a big jump between hair and hair and an expression change, which is why I can get away with that, right? Again, there's a theory to everything about this stuff. So this comes around here like that. Now, what I'm going to do before I do anything else is I am going to put in the body. Right there, that'll give me something to work with. That. You notice when I go quiet, my processor is on more, right? I'm working things out a bit more. It's a bit more challenging, right? So now I remember he's got these big lumps here from his frontal bone, right? And then this is where the baboon style head with the buffalo horns come in, right? Then we've got, it's going to be more like this. That's good. That creates some nice shape to the body. The body is really being fudged over in this stream. Something has to give while I do this fast. Right, so we now got the horns, these amazing horns. Right. In this instance, I have to look at the thing I'm referring to, but also think about the we've got this. Let's see, this. Yeah. Let's just change that out a bit like that. So that sits there. We got something. We got now his ear is going to be down to emphasize his sadness. Oh, I like that. I like that, what they did with that. Of course, the ears line up with the rest of the guy like that. And he's a little bit on the smaller side. But I can live with that. Okay. Let's just bring him up a tad. Let me move that out. There. Get the better arc. Yeah. Okay. So just make sure. It's a little bit out because I've tried to create my own expression out of this one. It's a little bit off, but I'll live with that. All right. Now, we have got this to this. I'll come and look at the chat in a minute. We got a difficult frame to do. We got this to this to this to this, right? You're going to get sad, right? Again, right? So I'm going to get into the breakdowns here. Before I do that, let me go to the chat. Charlene, hey, how you doing? Okay. Thank you, Charlene. Nice to see you. Somebody challenged me. They're like, I said, pick a character, Charlene. Any character. Pick a character and go animate it. I'll animate it. I'll make it. I need to warm up. I've been editing all week. I'm condensing the Badger streams to put them in the edutainment archives of the training library. So catch them while you can. And I need to draw again. So I said, challenge me. Give me an animation. So they jump right to it. They do the beast. So I said, okay. The game I'm working on is coming along. Awesome. Great, Nathaniel. You're trying to second guess what I'm doing, which is awesome. This channel has to be an oasis in the desert. I was wandering around over 15 years ago, not feeling satisfied with tutorials and books. It wasn't the level of teaching I was looking for. Thank you so much, Lotus Petal. And as a reminder, also because it supports me, because I'm able to do what I'm doing, I have entire courses in the Real Animator Training Library. So if you're liking this free stuff, you'll absolutely love the training library. Even though my goal is game dev, even with 3D animated characters, I was looking for real animation. That's my pleasure. That's exactly what this channel is. Thank you, Nathaniel. I love the scene where the beast is trying to eat his breakfast and carefully hold the tiny spoon. Yeah, that's great. Must have been so much fun to animate that. What do you think the differences in the sequels have more to do with the studio animation or the animation quality? Look, it's simply because not everybody can animate to that level, Nathaniel. It's not like in a politically correct world where everybody gets a medal, those guys just, there's a reason. There's elite and there's super. It's like asking a talented college football team to play against the major league. Like, it's not going to be the same thing. It's like asking a talented amateur boxer to go against Mayweather or Tyson in his prime, or even now, it ain't going to be the same. It's just worlds apart. So everybody likes to give the little guy a shout, and I do too, which is why I'm here helping all us little guys acknowledge our greatness so we can become big guys, right? But you got to keep working. And it's also habit patterns. It's the system. Remember, I talk about the system. So if you're constantly working on low grade stuff day in, day out for your paycheck, you're never going to grow, right? Because that's your habit. That's your life. That's where you belong. Keep doing the crap. Keep doing the fast, easy shit, right? Keep following another guy's layouts. Keep following another guy's poses, which are sent from the big studio. It's not going to happen unless you put in the work and the effort and the time on your own. Sometimes you have to walk away. That's what I did. 20 years in the industry, I walked away because I didn't like the way it was going. I could see the whole AI thing happening. I could see the whole lack and decline in real animation class. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go do my own thing, get better, become the animator I always knew I could be, watch in wonder as the work unfolding before me was at the command of my own hands, simply from acknowledging the things that I've learned, and also pushing myself and studying the greats. It's been a while. I may watch Beauty and the Beast soon. It really is a great scene, Lotus Petal. I'm glad that you appreciate stuff like that rather than just the action. Everybody felt disappointed when he became a man. They all wanted him to be the Beast. It's difficult to compare the Beauty and the Beast motion picture. I really don't want to compare it, Nathaniel. It's just a pathetic cosplay. I've nothing against them remaking the film and making it in live action, but redesign it. You know, they were originally trying to base Beauty and the Beast on Jean Cocteau's black and white film. Why not try to do that? Why not have that dark Ridley Scott legend vibe to it? Why not retell the story a different way? It's not the computers that I'm damning. It's the banal, you know, pissing all over a legacy. Just anyway, good luck to it. Good luck to it. I'm not going to go there. You know, missed opportunity. Let's just say it was that. I thought he was a pretty handsome prince, you know. He was very manly and beast-like, you know. Studying beast features are turning out way more impressive than expected. This is all you're doing, Nathaniel. I think you asked me to do it. I'm loving the cats that you are doing, Charlene. Isn't Tyson fighting Mayweather? Possibly. I mean, they'll make a ton of money on that. You know. Right. Now, I'm going to use this awful piece of GIF art. And you're going to say, why are you looking at that instead of a Glen Keane beast? Because I don't have this angle, and I've learned enough about the beast to look at this shitty drawing of the beast to kind of like go, okay, that's enough to kind of guide me model-wise. It's off model anyway, but it's enough. Somebody's made an awful tracing of the original. Now I've got to come here and work out pure animation, right? So the body's just going to go like that, right? But we're going to put in a bit of anatomy. So his shoulder lines that way, his shoulder lines that way, shoulders that way, shoulders that way. So we're gonna, if we're gonna have his head go this way, then we're gonna dip his shoulder more. Got to think about the anatomy of the whole thing. We can't just, gonna dip his shoulder more. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with this. Arcing pendulums here. Never forget the basics, right? Never forget the basics. What real animator training is all about. If you're liking this stream, there are other ways you can support me. There's a donate link in the description. Anything given there will be most welcome. Thank you. Right, so we have the body. Now, the neglect of the body was hindering me, so I'm not going to neglect it here. We're going to make it feel like he's got shoulders. Right. Now we're going to do the head drag. So without looking, I'm going to see what I'm going to do of my own beast. Right? 1, 1, 2, without looking, right? Just draw what I want, what I've learned. Try and create my own sort of front view. Right? I'm going to have that more of a down angle. Like that, kind of there, like that. He's going to be smiling. So we're going to have this. We're going to have this. Right. This is problem solving, right? So I'm like a kid on his bike without the stabilizers at the moment, because I'm not looking at anything for model, right? I'm trying to figure out his front view. Let's throw in a blink. Okay. His ears be at the side like that. Not bad, but it's all scratchy, you know. We haven't really consolidated anything yet. Got to kind of like cheat the angle of these horns a little bit. There we go. How does that work? Yeah, nice little head drag there. Okay, now I'm gonna look at the screen and consolidate this a little bit. Do we have any better kind of front on poses? Okay, there's something there. You know, there's something there. Okay, so I'm gonna redraw this. Hopefully my goal is to knock out a piece of animation. How are we doing for time, right? My goal is to knock out a piece of animation by the end of this live stream that's worthy of the movie, right? Worthy of the multi-million-dollar movie, right? And get it to a level where it can be given to an assistant animator, a junior animator, to tidy it up before going to cleanup, right? That's going to be my goal for this stream, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie down these drawings before I start breaking it down even more. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, I don't have an example of his eyes closed, but I'm confident enough in this style that I can kind of pull that off a little bit, right? So I've got enough hair to work with. These bits come here like this. Okay. And I'm just going to draw the way I draw, right? I'm going to consolidate all these drawings with a harsh... Once I've finished this drawing here, right? I'm going to consolidate all these drawings with this harsh red that I've been doing. Then I'm going to tidy them up once more very quickly. That's going to be this shape like this. We're going to introduce this like this. A whole new world. Well, it's seriously what my training system does, is it gives you a whole new world. What I'm demonstrating here is I once thought this stuff was untouchable for me, right? And now you can watch me on a live stream literally bashing it out as if it was nothing. All right, nothing. And why I'm saying it like that is to illustrate the point that I love to walk the talk. I always say that when you study from real animator training, you'll be able to reach out and touch things that once seemed beyond your reach, right? Now, there are many people working in the industry today that would, give them a year, give them a lifetime with their mentality. They would not be able to do what I'm doing in these few hours on this live stream, and they would, let alone what Glenn Keane and all those people did on this film, right? They just don't have the know-how or the ability, right? So being in the industry doesn't matter. It's like that question that somebody asked me, I think it was Nathaniel, or somebody asked me about why are the sequels so poorly animated? Because those guys just don't have the ability, right? But once you are versed in these fundamentals, you truly are able to reach out and touch things that once seemed far beyond your reach, right? So here we are, right? We've got the breaking down of this. So he's here, he's here, he's here, he's here, he's here, he's here, and he's here like this. So 2 more breakdowns to do. But what I'm going to do, which will make my life a lot easier, is consolidate these drawings. Consolidate these drawings. So I'm going to go from here to here. All right. To really help me get my shapes. I'm not looking so much at the model examples now. I've made my bed. I'm going to lie in it. All right. Little things like maybe the teeth to check myself. I'll look. All right. So I'm animating backwards from my own drawing rather than the one made from the model, because that's my way, right? And what real animator training is also all about is encouraging you to be authentic. Express yourself authentically, right? In the most authentic manner that you can. Because no matter how hard you try, you'll never be that other person who you're trying to mimic, right? You do not want to be a fraud. You want to be authentic. So now I'm going to check this here. This comes up like that. Let's work. Let's animate an inverse, so I can train my brain even more, right? Let's put it in mirror mode and fix the imbalances if there are any, It's another thing. You'll notice that when I flip the drawing, when I draw, there aren't that many imbalances, right? You see these digital artists constantly flipping their drawings and changing and cutting and adjusting the pivoting things. They can't be bothered to redraw the line. Such bad habits, right? Draw. Train your eye, train your brain to see things from the other perspective, It's almost like getting that martial artist out in me again, trying to, intercept the move that you feel that their brain, intercepting what's coming, right? So it's not so much interception here, it's more, okay, I want to be able to see with my left and right side of the brain, right? So I'm going to train myself to do that. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the first pose. Let's just stick in this, since this is a similar one, right? This is already a little bit worked in. Right. Now I'm the reason I'm doing this consolidation, and I'm doing it rough and not tidy, is I'm really making sure that these drawings are relating. That these drawings relate. They're not just, patchwork quilt trying to piece together somebody else's animation, which is essentially at the core the base element of what we're doing here, right? Where I'm trying to create a piece of animation that relates. Now I've got a good close-up of this guy's eyes. All right, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Really get that. Take the graphicness out of it. Right. There we go. We've got this brow here. Now I'm going to flip it because I can see an imbalance, right? I could see an imbalance, so I decided to flip it. That's exactly what I was talking about, training your brain to see the imbalances. So here's the imbalance on this side. So I need to fatten my eraser. It's too much. It's too much. Right. So I'm gonna bring that in. There. Perfect. 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 Dun, 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 dun. Can't help it. Whenever I hear the word perfect, I think of garbled speech and Street Fighter 2. You win. That's so old now that I think a lot of my audience just might not even have a clue, as strange as that sounds. Okay. That's no good. I don't like that. I've got to make that work. His ears a little bit out too much. The reason I'm spending a little bit of time on here is because, as I said, my goal was to get the animation to the level of the movie, but not just to the level of the movie, to a tie-down state where it can be passed on to the assistants and in-betweeners to do a stellar job. Now this is where I was having trouble with the body, so I'm gonna flip back over now. I'm gonna focus on the body. That'll be like that instead. course, if I had his arms doing something, it would be a lot more interesting. But I may ultimately end up going tighter on the face to make it less about the body. But we're just going to use big swooping shapes for now. Perfect. There we are. Let's go to this one. First one. I believe that was the one. Right. Perfect. This is pretty good, this one. Okay, I'm going to focus on the eye and the little details a little bit more here, just to get things that I missed, so that when I come around. So what's great here is there's a little bit of tuft fur, right? Which they don't clean it up as a simple swooping line, which is awesome. I remember a cleanup artist once saying that one particular drawing of the beast took him 2 hours to clean up, right? Because of all of the complexity of the fur and the lines and all that, and the maintaining of the volume, right? So I'm slowing down a little bit on my first drawing here because it's the one that I began with. Right. This is where there's a slight error. Right. I want to bring this in. We've got the snow there like that, and then this is a very you really want to get the teeth correct. A little bit off there, right? Now he knows his teeth. He simplified it. So we've got this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color these things in because I get lost. Right? I did that there. Did that there. So we're going to color that. Right? So once I'm slowing down, just to get it right, because when I go on top of it with a finer line, not a clean line, not a super clean line, but a finer line, we're gonna because this is pretty much the animation, right? And I'll show you with the rough in-betweens, which again are going to come a lot easier to me from doing this process, because now it's a process of repetition, drawing the same thing over and over again to the point where I feel confident in it, that familiar. I always I would tell this to my daughter whenever she'd say something was hard. I would say nothing in this world is hard, right? I use the word hard. We all use the word hard in terms of difficult, right? What it is that creates the illusion of difficulty is merely unfamiliarity, right? you're not familiar with that process, let me just turn off the heater here. You're not familiar with the process, so there's a lack of familiarity that's going on. Alright, so now that's a super round. I'm not sure, like his head's cut off there, so I'm going to just do something like that. Right. Right. And we've got this here. So these drawings are the main thing, what this is all about. Right. And I've had to make them from finished colored versions in the film because I could not find the examples that I was looking for. I'd much rather look at Glenn's roughs, but they're not there. I'm going to look at the chat in a minute. Just one drawing left to do here, my own one, my own expression, which is, you can see, is a little bit off there. That's better. That's a good one to use. Let's see what's going on in the chat. 1 hour 27. No, Chrissy, if you were to add hands to the animation, would you do it on the same layer? Forget layers, all right? Much love, much respect. I'm using a computer at the moment, but it's hand-drawn animation. Now, we can use separate layers if we were doing cheap TV animation by having the body on a hold. But if I was to do hands, here's what I would do. I would throw this in the dustbin and animate it properly and think about what I was doing with the hands, right? That's what I would do. You've seen this has been like an hour's play for me. It's not really something to be precious about. It's not anything important. I'm doing a demo. Somebody challenged me on stream to animate the beast, so that's what we're doing. But if I was really going to be serious about it, I'd think about it properly and put his hands in there or redraw it or whatever. I would never think about layers or separate layers or anything like that. That's being economical. That's being very unconfident in your own abilities, trying to save time. I'm not here to save time either because this is just a demo for live stream, create some great content. So if I was going to draw the hands, I'd scrap this and change it, right? Right, now let's improve this one and see what we can do. Right, so how's the body? Let's first start with the body. Let's bring his shoulders out. Like that. Perfect. Let's trail it off a bit. Put the onion skin on just to feel that. See, I'd be thinking more about his, but I don't know his structure. I've just literally done a Google image search and made these drawings from certain poses of his expressions of his face, right? So do like that. Okay, so now we've got a framework to work in there, right? So let's bring this face into play, right? So I'm one of the problems I made, which made it not look like the beast, is I didn't slant it down. Right, that's what we need to do. We need to slant it down. Gonna bring his eyelid in to make those eyes more sad. Right. I'm gonna bring the other eyelid in. Let's put a little bit of that. That's better. That's better. Right. Now we're gonna pretty much keep to this nose. I made the nose a little too long there. And I didn't go in the shape of the teeth with that. Right, so you see I'm getting better. My understanding of the character is getting better the more I go. Right. I'll bring the tooth out to create a silhouette with his mouth. That's better. Now we have this colored bit here, like this. So this comes here like that. I'll come and look at the chat more in a minute, see the kind of questions if you have any. Feel free to type. This stream is purely for you guys, right? That's good. Let's bring that in a bit. All right. We have this, like this. Better. Then there's this. If my memory serves me correctly. Much better. Yeah. Now we're getting onto model here. Right. Oopsie, we missed a trick there. Right. The horn is pretty good. One of the reasons animators don't often draw with huge strokes when animating is because of we're constantly flipping and watching the changing shapes and altering and correcting, right? So the way that you draw, there's a different technique for a different aspect, right? Roughing, you might do that, but then when you're pulling things into place and you're modeling, you're thinking about model and all those things, becomes very different. All right. So here are our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 poses, but there's going to be more stuff coming in. We are now 1 hour 48 in. So let's just scrub and talk you through these keys. Before I'm going to refine them before we continue. So we've got, he looks up, he turns and gets sad, right? Now we're going to really add some life to this thing, but I'm gonna tighten these drawings up so that we can move forward. So let's begin with this. But before I do that, I am going to talk about where you can learn how to draw and animate to this level. And it's true. It is absolutely true. So much so that I have now made him the poster boy of my Real Animated Training Library. If you go to ambanimation.com and you click on Real Animated Training, just have a look at this. Here's someone who joined my training library and then made their own short in 3 years, right? So I've shown you, okay, you say, well, you're the professional, you created the training course. What about us people who you say you are just like you? Well, here's this guy. Now this is 3 minutes 26 seconds. He paid a few people to help him. More power to him, right? But the animation and everything is all him, right? He paid some people to help him paint the backgrounds and get it all done, but this is all him. This is all his work. This is my favorite section. This area here. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that great? It's so fulfilling for me that I've helped inspire somebody who's like you, who says he's self-taught, but he obviously, if he joined my training library, I believe he's got access to the world's best training. So there are people coming off CalArts. Let's look at their graduation films and put them up to this guy who didn't know anything and just joined a training library online, and in 3 years he's produced this. So I think that's more than an example of it is possible, right? I hope this is really inspiring you. Okay, let's pause for that for a minute. There's somebody also on Instagram called Live Fantasy. Some of you may have seen it. She's done her own Lion King. Let me look for her. Let me tell you how I'm so happy for her, right? She's done her own Lion King animation here, right? And I'm going to show you, she's in this video. She's got 40,000 likes for this animation that she's done, right? She's really happy doing this. So go look at her on Instagram. She's a Real Animated Training Library person. And I've actually employed her to clean up some of my work. And let's look for some of her stuff here, right? Of the groundhopper. Let's just go and do it. Here is Angela Martinez. Let's have a look at it then. Let's press play and have a look at it.
Shh. Come on. Follow me.
That is beautiful, Angela. Absolutely beautiful. Such a good study that she's made from an animator called William Salazar, who's a really strong animator, actually. So just to be clear, she's made a study of someone else's work, but I just think you all need to see that just what's capable. Live Fantasy hasn't been to art school. She hasn't been to art school. She's not a pro in the industry, although I feel she can animate better than a lot of pros in the industry, even pros from back in my day in hand-drawn animation. A lot of people I've worked with who were on TV commercials and stuff, I think she's above some of their level. So I just think this is just so inspirational, and subconsciously you might think it's out of your reach. Well, I just want you guys to look what is in your reach. I mean, look what Angela has done. She's made a study, but she couldn't have made the study this good had she not understood how to animate. Okay? Well, let's have a look at what I'm talking about, okay? So there we go. This is it. She made a study. Isn't that nice? Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that solid? Isn't that great? Isn't that like yesterday people were talking about Sakuga, okay? People were talking about Sakuga. Well, that's kind of Sakuga-ish, isn't it? Now she's made a study of an animator's work, so this isn't her own. So I could keep playing this video, but like it's fairly long. It's about 20 minutes, 16 minutes actually. Go over to it if you're interested. Go over to ambanimation.com, click on Real Animator Training, and you can see that I literally am the living example of making a true difference in people's lives when it comes to actually learning the real animation, not just pulling off cute little tests, but really sending people on their way. Both Travis and Angela have got huge payback on social media now since they have been doing those things. If you look, none of them, they all had to go through this process. They all had to go through these training archives here, right? You can get them in a bundle or you can get them individually. They all had to go through an intensive basics archive, an intermediate archive, an anatomy archive, and an advanced archive. We are now building a professional archive. Some of you saw at the beginning of this stream the flavor of what's to come in this. The professional archive is not step by step over the shoulder follow along, right? That's for all these babyish. Yes, in Real Animator Training, advanced archive is still baby, okay? But you see the kind of results we produce here at Real Animator Training. So I'm not going to play these videos for you. I'm not going to take any more of your time. I'm just going to say that if you're tired, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of never having your outer results matching your inner vision, and drawing and animating feels like you're banging your head against a brick wall because inside you really know that you're the real deal, you've been in the wrong place. Sooner or later, everybody who's serious about hand-drawn animation is drawn to the Real Animator Training Library. It nourishes the nervous system and enriches the soul with all the essential elements that are sorely lacking from the skill set of every self-taught animation artist in this day and age. Basically, it forces you to do things you've never done before, and ultimately you'll be witnessing your own transformation from, a frustrated learner into the ruler of your own reality. It says, I always say, just like today, as I've been doing this thing, there was a time when I thought doing this stuff was special. Drawing and animating the beast was special. It is special, but not as special as what I once thought. And literally, you'll watch in wonder, as I often always like to say, you'll watch in wonder as you witness the drawing unfolding before you. Is at the command of your own hand, and then ultimately the realization that you've actually made that transformation into the person and the animator that you've always wanted to be has actually taken place. So if you're interested in being the real deal, if you're interested in actually turning your life around and actually doing something that you love and doing it properly, forget about all these dopamine hits in these other courses. Go and learn the real thing from the real place, the Real Animator Training Library. I walk the talk, I talk big, but I draw big, and I show the results. It's the proof, living proof. Okay, thank you. Right, let's jump back on into this. And before we do it, we got a question, as I was reading there. What is your most challenging part of the Beasts movement that you bring about? The details are still very short. I guess for me, the challenging part is understanding it's so challenging that I haven't tried to do it at the moment, right? Because I'm just feeling my way. This is all easy. Again, this isn't challenging. If there was going to be a challenge, and I've tried to do it a little bit here by creating my own expression a little bit while using the others, is trying to bring out his soul and his personality. Right? And I have kind of subconsciously done that because I must have watched this movie over 50, 60 times since it came out, right? It's always been one of my favorites. So, I know that he's like a child in a man's body or a beast's body, and I've tried to do that in these poses. So the immediate challenge is to keep it on model and to make it look good for you guys on the stream. But the real off-screen, off-world challenge, if I was to really actually draw and animate this character, would be that I want to get into his soul, express his personality familiarizing yourself with the model when you get to this level is not a challenge, it's a formality. So yep, thank you, Nathaniel. All right, now let me now go in and consolidate these drawings of the beast. Now I'm going to consolidate them very quickly, right? By just kind of like tidying up my drawings now, right? I'm not going to be clean. In fact, I'm going to be quite scratchy. If I was going to be doing the swooping line thing, then I would be probably a lot slower. So I'm just going to be scratchy as I consolidate these shapes. And this is where the tie down process of the animation comes in, right? So arguably this animation I'm doing of the beast won't be 100% to model, even though I've spent all that time roughing it out, because I'm not looking at the model, right? I've just like, in just over an hour, I've done this animation, right? Of a character that I've only drawn once or twice before, and on just for the sake of a live stream, somebody says draw the beast, right? I've never animated it before, don't really know how to draw it, right? So I still would feel that it's confident enough that it's kind of at a tie down stage to go to an assistant, and then cleanup will do the final thing of putting it exact to model. Because they do change, believe it or not, this is Glenn Keane's character, but they change his drawings even. Because when he animates, he finds, oh, it'll be better to draw it this way and better to draw it this way, even though he's finalized a model for it. But then he basically, as I said, the more you draw it, the more you get to know the shapes, the more you get to know the character. So it's almost, it's a continuous work in progress to do this kind of animation. So that's why cleanup. One of the things is the film The Prince of Egypt came out and DreamWorks came out, and they started this whole movement of super solid, like, you know, more time on cleanup, volume control, and to me that kind of killed the life out of the classic animation. Yes, Prince of Egypt was a beautiful movie. Yes, it had some amazing work in it, but the mentality changed and everything focused so much on cleanup and model and all that the beauty of the inconsistencies, which is why where we are, I think now in this age of computerized AI and symbol rigged animation, where they're literally obsessed with the illusion of perfection. You know, arguably it's not perfect because ultimately, as I said, Glenn would have probably found a better way of drawing the beast and improving his design towards the end of the movie, right? So all of those early ideas about how he should be cleaned up and all of that stuff kind of go out the window, right? If you're talking about pure art. But this kind of little scratchy quick line is good enough for me. And it doesn't take too long to do. Here I can be nice and swooping. It's a simple shape, and it's the first one. There we go. I'm excited that we're gonna do this well in time. We are just 2 hours in, and we've already, you know, tidying up these drawings will take me no more than 15 minutes, I believe, right? So we've got more than enough time to go in there and start doing the, let's change that yellow. Let's change that yellow into a, let's have a light red. Let's make a new kind of shaded, kind of brown husky. Give it that kind of look. Yeah, that's just, I'm wasting time doing this, but I wanna create a new swatch. That's why. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, let's have it like that. That gives it a nice rough feel, right? Keeps it like that hand-drawn rough look to it, right? Okay. Arguably, I'm gonna put it back to that afterwards. I'm gonna keep it in the yellow for now because I want to see my black line, right? I'm jumping the gun a bit, right? That's the problem with this. Edit, cut, edit. Oopsie, paste. Edit, cut, edit, paste. So there's some valuable seconds wasted, but never mind. What's going on in the chat? Nothing much. Okay, you're all enjoying watching this. Right, so let's now go on here. Let's just zoom into his face a little bit, since we're doing it. So let's go in here. Have the bulge of that eye. I love these old Glen Keane eyes, which he kind of stopped doing, and that's what I'm saying. They're his characters. He's every right. They're his designs. But I personally, when he did the whole Tangled thing, he started drawing Ariel. You know, whenever he draw Ariel for whatever reason, demo purposes or anything, he started drawing Ariel with those new Tangled Rapunzel style CG inspired eyes. I didn't not like it. I actually hated it personally. It's it really killed the appeal of the whole. I'm just old school. I love the house style, what we call the house style of drawing. I didn't like the way it was going. We've got a lot of people drawing eyes like that now, so Glenn stayed relevant. He created a new movement, but I guess I'm part of the old movement. Not for me. Didn't like it. Didn't like that Rapunzel thing one bit. Okay, so obviously we got to talk about it in a grown-up way, right? It's not that it's bad drawing. It's not that it's wrong. It's a taste thing, right? Somebody like with that skill and that ability won't do well. Everybody does bad drawings, but they won't put out a professional, labored piece of work that's wrong or bad. It's different. But I kind of liked his previous expression. I guess it's like when a band that you really like changes its style, right? You go, oh, I like that. Like, I personally love the songs from the band Queen, but only from the 80s, right? I don't like I'm not really into the 70s. I like the 80s and early 90s sound, right? Whole Highlander, Princes of the Universe thing, right? Innuendo. Not into the Bohemian Rhapsodies and the I want to ride my bicycles and all that, you know. It's not my thing, right? There's always something for somebody. But the whole Glen Keane style for Rapunzel, Tangled, and which became the new Disney style, right? He kind of left Disney but dictated to them what their style was going to be like, right? Because Frozen was all this, they took it to a new level with this impish look, right? Rather than looking like humans, the they look like imps, right? Ugly imps at that, not like Tinkerbell. But they even ruined that character. But anyway, I can find myself, you know, it's a habit that I need to kick. Is there's so much beauty and so much greatness and nice things in the world. Why am I being so negative, right? Not good, right? It's all beautiful, it's all great, right? Wonderful, something for everyone, la-di-da. There we are. Right, it's there. I have this here like that. You can see that it's not that hard to start bringing things into form and volume and model as I've exhibited, right? It's not hard, but it takes understanding, knowledge, time, patience, and discipline, right? All those things that I've been alluding to earlier with the whole training library. We have someone in the chat called Charlene Giles, and she has been a training library member, and she's now veering off and exploring. I don't think she's finished every archive, I'm not sure, but she's having fun and she's exploring and she's starting to find her own identity now, right? And there's more learning and more skill and more developing for her to do. But slowly, I can feel her energy that she's starting to believe that she can do these things, you know. When she first joined, she was frustrated about certain things, her progress in certain things, and not being able to get certain exercises right. And I'm really excited watching posts from people like Charlene and Cameron and Kevin Silver, because it really enriches my soul to see people who have gone through the tried and tested fundamentals and are now reaping the benefits of what they sowed, right? It's a long-term game. It's like investing in stocks and shares. Like, everybody keeps putting it off and saying, oh, but I'll have to wait 10 years. But 10 years flies in a blink of an eye, right? Some people don't even want to wait 3 years. Like I said, Travis took 3 years to make his film, right? That I showed you earlier. So one of the things that I like to point out personally for you, Charlene, if you haven't gone, because I haven't looked at the chat, is those fundamental exercises are good, but once you start developing character and wanting to introduce character and thinking about your character's body shape, then you have to adjust. You have to pivot from those fundamental basics. You have to apply them, but then you have to think, okay, how would a little kitten with short, stubby, fat front paws walk, who hasn't got a big stride, which is what you learned with the fundamentals with the generic A and B quadrupeds, stick quadrupeds. So you got to look at other animators' work, or and you got to look at real kittens perhaps later, but while you're learning, you got to look at other animators' work and see those fundamentals that you know that are you're consolidating from the training library, and you got to see how they've been adapted. Like if they've got little stubby front legs, and they're putting more power in their back legs, then the up and down of the back is gonna be slow and wave-like, but quite large, and the little front feet are gonna come up and down a lot higher and faster to give it that cute little walk, right? So the principles are all the same, but you're gonna have to you're going to have to adjust them, which is what we talk about in the advanced archive with the quadruped, when we start to play with, again, a very constructed, formulaic, character. The stuff in my advanced archive isn't like this character. To an untrained eye, it looks like a finished character, but it's too constructed. It's still designed to kind of help you transition from the construction you've been learning into these model-like shapes. But they're still, like, even the bulldog is still very robotic in his structure, right? And then once you start studying work like the 9 Old Men, or even this beast, you will start to then, as I exemplified earlier, with your subconscious will see the construction, so you will be able to return to a more illustrative style of drawing, but everything will be constructed. Everything will have construction, right? I have to say that I'm having a lot of fun with today's live stream. I've got Nathaniel, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, to thank for that. So thank you, Nathaniel. We're having a lot of fun with this exploration of the beast. Let's see, probably more like that. Slowly, my shapes are these shapes are becoming a lot more known to me, so I'm not being so scratchy with the line choices as I'm going. So you see, it's a process of familiarity, finding your way and becoming familiar. So that song, Getting to Know You, right? That's essentially what character animation is. Getting into character. Let's start from here. I'm going to come and look at the chat in a minute to see if anybody else has a question. Keep asking away. Always remember the Super Nintendo Entertainment System game, The Roar of the Beast. Now, that was such a badly made game. The Super Nintendo had a good sound chip, but for some reason when it did that magic mirror music, that you had this awful as the backing, and I would be like, what the hell have I just purchased here? Right. Drawing this character is taking me right back to, I was 14 or 15 when this film came out. It's taken me right back. Right. What's that Celine Dion song? Actually, it was a song by the guy that wrote Bat Out of Hell and Anything for Love and all those films. The Shadow, what's that? Original Sin. I forgot what his name was. He's a great songwriter. It's all coming back. It's coming back to me now. I can feel the excitement of being a 15-year-old and wanting to be an animator for Walt Disney. As I'm drawing this, I almost feel like that 15-year-old again. wanting to draw something that I really want to be a part of. Part of your world. Alright, so we've got, that's good, that's good. We've got some movement there going on. I'm 90 minutes behind, and you just mentioned rigid volume ruins expressiveness, and it's so true. The recent DC animated, yeah, those DC animated movies were also quite limited anyway, so yeah, they're getting even worse. Charlene does have amazing energy. Yes, she does. I'm currently figuring out Bitsy's walk cycle. Yeah, Aristocats. Do some breakdowns from that, Charlene. Do some breakdowns. Watch the bit where they're playing the piano. You'll really get to see the back legs in motion and the front legs in motion. Study those. Some free mentorship advice from me. All right. Let's get on in here and do this one. How are we doing for time? 2 hours 26. Not bad. Not bad. Let's just get in here a little bit tighter. Always want to get those upper eyelids. That's the classic old school Disney eye look. You know, it's almost square like frame around the eye, the upper and lower eyelid, but then the little bit of the eyelid put in there. There we are. No new questions, so let's just continue rambling. Right? If you have a question, if you're getting tired of my rambling about old video games, and you have a question, then go ahead and ask. So I'm focused at the moment on tying this guy down, and it won't be long, maybe another 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, before we start going in there and breaking down the animation, putting in the breakdowns or additional keys before I put in the breakdowns to really bring this piece to life. It's already quite, but got a fair amount of potential to it, in my humble opinion. But we're gonna really bring it to life with the breakdowns. And already I'm getting my own kind of like familiarity thing going on with this character. I've worked him out pretty well. A lot easier than I thought he would be. But you know, the credit goes to the years of developing the Real Animator Training Library, which has enabled me to decode all these great animation masterpieces. And some of you might, because it's just too far back, you might not agree with me, or you might not grasp what I'm about to say. But for me, this character is, after doing John Lounsbury and Milk Carl, this character is a lot simpler for me to understand and to go in. It's more based on, it's got more of a definite formula to it, as opposed to the work of those guys. I've already given Glenn Keane his due and said how great I think he is, but I'm just sharing my thoughts after coming here. I had a lot of old paradigms about how great the Renaissance men were, because they inspired me to want to be an animator when I was 15. This film came out. I wanted to marry someone that looked exactly like Princess Jasmine, and I did. I pretty much was obsessed with 90s Disney, but I have cast it aside as I've continued my journey to searching for the truth, the endless quest for the truth of the power of hand-drawn animation, getting to understand it as best as I can. And as I've revisited those old masters, Milt Kahl, John Lounsbury, I've done a few Mark Davis, but I want to visit more Mark Davis next. I want to visit Ward Kimball. After going and looking at that stuff and seeing the roots of, that these people trained Glenn Keane, this stuff is a whole lot simpler to me now. Just like, doesn't really faze me. All right, let's get this. In here. I'm really looking forward to doing a deep dive into Ward Kimball's work. And even some that weren't the Nine Old Men, like the great goodness me, Freddie Moore, that's it. The great Fred Moore. One thing I love is pin-up females. I love drawing them myself, which is evident if any of you follow me. But it is not that I'm so interested in studying from him. It's a scene from Pinocchio where there's this character called Lampwick, and Ward Kimball's Jiminy Cricket takes off his jacket to get into a boxing match with him. It's just such a stunning piece of animation. But then the actual animation of Lampwick turning into a donkey as well. Just incredible. Incredible stuff. I really want to get inside that. Understand. Try and go back in time. Get inside Milt and Fred's head. And see what they were exploring. Right, we've got our sad beast expression here. A little bit too cheeky of me, that. Slow down a little bit. Right, yeah, okay. Right, we'll be moving on to the breakdowns next. I've got some great new merchandise in the merch store for those of you who are interested. I've got a new set of t-shirts and mugs with the Badger character on there. He's in his usual bad temper. Stickers, t-shirts and mugs. This pose I'm being a little bit more cautious about because it is my own attempt at an expression with this character. right? I did not have a direct pose to work from with this one. A little bit slower, a little bit quieter. But we're getting it, we're getting there, getting there. There we are. Got to have his ears now. Sad ears. Now, this thing I'm gonna slightly change. I'm gonna have like this. There we go. So we have something like that. And just around there like that. Okay. You see, many people in assisting would be placing and tracing this little kind of circle buckle on his cloak. I wouldn't bother, personally. That's the kind of mentality I'm talking about. It's like, I used to be like that, so worried about the volume. Loosen up. It'll actually help your work. Alright, now, here are the keys tidied up. Let me just sort out this business. Let me go here. I don't want to have it that grubby red. Let me have it more of a kind of light blue kind of thing. So a little paler. Let's have it like that. Yeah, we'll leave it like that for now. Right, so you can kind of see. Right. Let's have it. Let's show off a bit as if it's really clean, right? All right. So, in 2.5 hours, well, we didn't start for about half an hour. So in 2.5 hours, we've got our main key poses of the beast, right? So now we're going to go in there and break it down. Are you drawing those black lines on the same layer? Yes, always the same layer. Let's forget about the crutch of software and learn to draw really well. Take risks in your life. Take risks. Risks begin with R and rewards begin with R. And you know what? If you fuck it all up, that's also a reward because you get a chance to do it all over again. And all you're doing is training your brain, training your hand-eye coordination, and getting better. So draw on the same drawing. Unless you're doing it for somebody else and you got a deadline and then you're worried about not making the deadline, that's a different issue. But if you're learning and you're training yourself, then don't, right? Okay, so between here and here, my first thoughts, right? Oh, wow, look at that. My first thoughts are that I'm gonna turn his head this way and close his mouth, right? Let me just make up my own pose, and I'll have to look at a reference pose for this. He's going to turn his head more this way. As he does so, this brings up a new challenge of the character, of the horn. which I'll have to work out. So we have something like this. Oh, look at that. My darling wife is telling me she's prepared me egg fried rice. Isn't that nice? Well, I'm not going to be doing that for a while. So I'm going to be having, let's have his head angle come down. Right? So we're going to bring him down a little bit. We're going to bring his shoulders up a little bit. Right. Going to have him kind of like going to change that. Okay. So going to turn that light box off. And I'm going to, now I know what I want, I'm just going to focus on this, right? Let me bring his shoulders up. Bring this down. So we're creating a mild anticipation of movement, which is also going to lead into the expression change. Now I wanted to turn his head, but I don't think that's the way I want to go. I'm going to dip his head a bit. Let's dip his head a bit more. One, it's easier, but it's not so much about it being easier than having to get a new head angle, right? It's more natural with the process. So I'm not going to draw too much of it, just enough of the facial expressions to give me a know-how of what's going on here. So he's going to blink, all right? He's going to open his mouth, right? And he's going to stay in this position, right? So this is going to be a key, right? Reason being this is going to be a key, right? We're going to throw in some whole new stuff into it, right? So that horn is going to come lower. The head is going to come lower. The horn is going to come down. Like that, right? So my feeling for this, are you drawing those black lines? Yeah, okay. I have yet to get merchandise, but one day I'll pick something up. Awesome. Pinocchio is really one of the best Disney yet. Absolutely it is. Oh, right. So he's going to go down, right? And then before he comes up like this, I'm going to have him change his expression, right? So I'm going to turn that off. No next panel. So then he's going to look a little bit like, right? Now, as I'm doing this, my feeling that I'm going to get this finished in tie down phase by the end of the stream, well, it's 2 hours in, we'll see. All right. Some of these streams have gone on for 4. You're welcome to stay as long as you like. Well, I'm going to get it to a point where you'll see what's going to happen, right? Now I'm going to have him kind of as if he's just kind of realized something. See how I'm playing with the expressions? I feel more confident about playing with the expressions of this guy now, right? Right, so he's going to realize something. Body's going to be on a hold here. Now maybe we move it back down a bit. Right. You move it back down a bit. You see, we're drawing in this partial way now. Then he's going to come up to this. Like, ah. Right? Now the ah is the breakdown to this, right? So before I go any further, I'm going to have to lock these two down a bit. I wouldn't really lock them down, but I'm giving a demo, right? And if I wander too far ahead, then I'm going to get too messy and it's all going to look shit for a demo, right? So I would actually continue and do all this stuff, right? But here, I'm going to make him realize something, right? So here, there'll be a slight relaxing of his features. Slight glance to the other way within there. It's all about staying around the poses, but selling the emotion, right? We're going to relax his ears somewhat. He's going to turn here like this. Beard's going to come down, face is going to get a bit longer. Right. Gonna lower his shoulders a little bit, right? So these are the main emotional breakdowns, right? So let's just see what those ideas bring to the table, right? Right? So now we've kind of like got change of emotion happening into the character. What is the time now? Okay. So first up, I'm going to tackle this drawing. So I'm gonna be all rough again, and I've got to draw in a lot more than I thought I had to, because I'm not just doing a simple piece of TV grade animation here, right? I said I wanted to get the animation to be of the level that was in the movie, if not better, right? Because the movie is a hodgepodge of great scenes and just average scenes, right? So when we want to animate, we want to try and make it the greatest scene we can make. Like that. So here I'm staying around the pose that we've got. I'm closing his mouth. There we are, like that. course it looks accurate in volume wise, but it's not. And arguably, if I was to tie this down, I'd want more squash and stretch on his mouth, right? Because his mouth's more or less in the same place. But those kind of fixes I will fix later. And possibly, if I wanted to take this further off stream. So what I think I'm going to do, because this animation is turning into something far more than I anticipated, is I think I'm just going to rough in the poses that I've already drawn, and then I'm going to call the stream. Another reason being is I've just realized it's almost 4 and I haven't eaten anything. And that's what it's like when you're pretty obsessive about your creative process and creative work. Right, so this is good enough for me to work with, right? But the drawing is weak. There's no squash and stretch in the mouth. Right? Just because it looks like the character doesn't mean it's a strong drawing, right? Somebody asked me the difference between the TV grade and the sequel grade. That's the grade, and some of them won't really know. They'll think to do that squash and stretch will put him way off model, right? And that's where the problem lies. So now I've got to tie these two poses together. So I'm going to look at the eye here. Going to make his eye a lot bigger. Now I'm happy playing with my own expressions of the character, right? I feel I've kind of like picked up on that. So he's come to a realization of something. Let's have a look at this nose there. We want to start familiarizing the shapes between one pose and the next. The mouth shapes are generally not as hard as they seem, right? Now this mouth shape I'm drawing in, but I'll have to draw it again because the previous mouth shape has to change. It's not good enough, the previous mouth shape. But, as I said, I'm just familiarizing myself, like this is the plan of what I want to do. Right. Alright, let's have a little bit of let's bring those ears up just a little bit. Make them a little bit more attentive. Bring the horns up. The movement of the horns should be very subtle, but they should be like, you know, if you bring your brows up and down, you can almost feel your ears moving and your brow tightening. You want to think about the horns moving because his skull, they're part of his skull moving, right? But you also want to feel that he's got facial muscles that can affect the placement ever so slightly. I'm going to move that forward, have the arc. See, look at the arc. Everything arcs in that way. Right. So we have this come down very slightly. Bum, bum, bum. So let's have a look at that. He left his food in the oven too long. That should be me. I do my intermittent fasting, derps. I never eat one until I get up, right? I don't really eat. So there, you could see already we've got that even without the in-between, the breakdown between there and there, right? And I need his mouth open. Right, between there and there. But then he's going to turn his head and he's going to notice something here. So I'm going to work on this position next, because this is the big position. These are the changes. Notice how I haven't tried to work out the mechanics except for this one here, right? These are the real mechanics, the change of emotion. That's the real animator's mindset. Before we change from one to the other, we check our emotions, right? So I'm going to turn the light box on here. I'm going to do this pose is all going to be about the facial musculature movements in the face, right? I don't really want to notice change too much in his position because it's subtle, right? And that subtle change is going to be everything, right? So I might just relax the nose a little bit. In fact, it's just going to be a scribble with this thick brush. But I'll relax the nose a little bit. Bring the teeth down as his jaw comes down. Like that. Again here, this thing will come down slightly. The ears will come down. Little bit of change on his head there. Now here, the horns will just move ever so slightly, right? Because they're part of his skull. They can't really move, right? They can't really move if he's staying in the same place. But if we just relax the tightening of his facial muscles, we'll feel a little bit of relax in them, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So these are the things that you need to think about. But a lot of you don't have the mindset of that because you're unconfident and all you want to do is get the drawing right. If I draw it, it'll look like it, you know. Entry level, low grade, standard, which most people never make it past, if I'm honest, in the world of hand-drawn real animation. They don't really express the illusion of life. And they're quite happy with just doing the drawing. But the AI will give you the stiff dead drawing. Now it'll give you the exact drawing and move it around like a People can take a photograph and make it look 3D and Photoshop and make a movement all around it, but it still feels uncanny. It still feels dead. AI will try to take the beast and base its movements on rotoscoping and other things, or the same kind of dead. So the ability to draw and create the expression and to put those natural nuances in there so they're natural can only be done by a human hand, and that is our power. So we need to learn these real animator techniques in order to get there right. So here, how are we doing for time? I might just quickly block in, Dylan, see you okay. I might just quickly block in 2 positions, and then you can see how it's going, right? So the one position that I'm going to block in is between here and here, right? But I'm not going to necessarily draw it as nicely. Right? I'll need to study from a beast, right? So now he's gonna come up, right? It's quite simple actually. And we're going to come up on a thirds to put that speed in there, right? So he's going to come up. He's going to open his mouth a little bit, right? The horn is going to be on thirds. Everything's going to be on thirds. All I'm doing is making sure that I'm on thirds, because this I will put on half and have it play catch up, right? And that's what will add a bit of life and breath to his chest. So you see how I'm thinking in timing. Head on thirds, head is excited, body is catching up, body on halves, delayed. Follow through, overlap and drag, all subject to the fundamental law of timing. Again, things that you will only really learn in the Real Animator Training Library. I doubt anybody else's course really. I don't even think they'd have explained it as excellently as I have in that brief little explanation there. Right, so I'm going to go between here and here. I said I wasn't going to bother, but I'm getting more and more confident with this character. So let's just do it. Let's keep his eyebrow a little bit raised. Of course, once you know about thirds and how easy they are, right, it all becomes easy, right? We're going to slightly change the position of that nose. So it's third-ish, you know, give or take a little bit. It's not an exact third. Right? But then again, I'm changing the arc, right? The arc has to, that's how we lose volume, right? Because we got bad arcs. So with the light box, if I'm in betweening with the light box, I'm by default going to have a bad arc, because I'm going to have an idea of the arc, but once I start flipping and rolling, or in this case just flipping, the whole thing okay, we're gonna have his tooth there, right? Then I'm gonna have to look at what his inside mouth looks like, inside mouth design, because I have no clue, right? I'm just guessing at the moment. I think it's a pretty good guess privately, but We still need to okay, I lied. I'm drawing it in a bit more. Right. Once you realize this stuff ain't that hard, right? And I'm really not rubbing it in, right? If anything, I'm just selling my course to you. And I'll be perfectly honest, it ain't that hard, right? Just learn the right things. It ain't that hard. Then I said you'll be surprised. I didn't think I'd be surprised. I mean, I rate this stuff, but it's hardly the 9 old men, you know. So I didn't think that I'd be surprised at how fast I'd pick this up, but I actually am. Just learn the real things. Maybe I want to play around with those ears a little bit later. Okay, that's a little bit off. That's a little bit off. So let's turn on the light box. Make sure that that's correct. The horns have to be quite solid. We don't want them telescoping, which they do frequently in the movie, I might add. And I say that as somebody who didn't like the fact that every time I watched this movie I would bawl my eyes out, because it was such a good movie, and it turned this wannabe macho man into a sobbing soy boy. Like, I'd bawl my eyes out, so I'd say I've got to stop crying, because what would people think? Back then I cared about what people think. Now I don't. I just openly announce that I bawl my eyes out. So I would say I'll watch his nose. I'll watch other parts of the beast. I don't want to get involved. And I'd watch them all changing and shrinking in volume, and I'd go, ah, look at that. Right. So so there he's like, you see, now we've got that. Now we've got it coming together, right? But it's a timing thing. So we've got a change in expression here. Turn, change in expression, and now one more. I'm gonna put hair, but it's far from done, because there's got to be a bounce in his head when he lands, and kind of like settle keys and all that. So it's just the bare bones. So now he's gonna drop, right? So here it's gonna be the reverse thing. So we're going to come down on thirds. Classic Disney spacing, Disney timing. We're going to come down on thirds. But this drawing is going to be harder for me to do, right? I don't think. I might delay his head and drag it like, oh, right. Right, delay his eyes, as if like the sorrow. See, now I'm drawing emotion, so I'm thinking more animation than nuts and bolts stuff. Right. While I want to drag it. I'm really trying to sell an emotion here. So I'm going to go way off model. Right. Have his beard. Here like this. The shoulders are gonna drop a lot more. And he's gonna bounce back up. Yeah, let's play with the head angle a bit. Flex a bit as an animator, don't just stay in the same shapes. Right. Flex. by flexing, you're actually celebrating and creating more lifelike movements. So this head would technically, the horns will be on a half while the head's on a third because he's changed his head angle, right? So I'm not really going to draw that in because I've done way more than I said I was going to do, right? But we can see that we've now got the change in expression, the turn, and the drop, right? And we've gone 3 hours, right? Not bad for I would say 2.5 hours work. We did a bit of talking around, so I'm gonna go and tidy that up, and I might continue this. Tomorrow, right? Because I didn't factor having such a fun live stream. Do you think it's okay for AI to do coloring and in-betweening? Coloring, yes. In-betweening, no. In-betweening, no. If you're a real animator, no. Because the in-betweening is just like doing it'll in-between it like the rig, like the really close in-betweens. But even then, look. It doesn't matter what I think about AI, is it okay? Doesn't matter what I think, is AI okay, is AI not okay? It's okay for you. What's your goal? What do you want to do? You just want to knock stuff out? You want to create content? You want to be a one-man studio? AI is there. It's a brilliant tool. Use it. It's yours at your disposal to create great work out of, right? So use it. But if you are interested in using the tool to its fullest capacity, then you'd better know, right? If I asked AI to in-between and you asked AI to in-between, it'll be two very different stories. I liken it to a child wanting to play Bob the Builder on a building site. He doesn't know about construction. He doesn't know about architecture. He doesn't know about structural engineering. All he knows is Bob the Builder, can we fix it? And that's most of the people using AI. They don't know. So if somebody doesn't know what an arc is, proper arc, somebody doesn't know what a breakdown is, somebody doesn't understand a favor, somebody doesn't understand what halves and thirds and what the whole splitting up a quarter of a second, and the slight before and after of that 6, 12, 18, 24, somebody doesn't understand all those timing things and they ask AI to in-between. They're ignorant and they're happy. And listen, you can be ignorant, happy, wealthy and successful. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Go ahead and use it. But my channel is more so aimed at people who are interested in becoming the real deal, feeling like the real deal, people who really have a passion for drawing and animating, and just because a tool has come along, they don't care, because it's not about that. There's no fear involved. We've got to live until we die, and we got to feel enriched until we die. And some people are just going to look for the shortcuts. They never really cared. They never really enjoyed the process. They never really cared about the outcome. You see, I've been animating this beast and drawing this beast, and I've been telling you that there are lots of people that wouldn't tell the difference between the cheap TV series, the video sequels, and the finished movie. Or they might think even the CGI trash of the remake was better because it looked more real. Those people are not really the people that I'm talking about when I'm talking about real animator is a niche. It's a real animator. It's somebody like a chef who can really taste the ingredients. Somebody like a sound engineer who can really hear with his headphones and then give it to me and go, could you hear that? That's awful. And I'm like, Sounds the same to me because I'm ignorant, you know. So not for everybody what I'm talking about here. So I'm not here to make people feel bad about using AI. Go use it if you want to play. As far as I'm concerned, people using software using AI anyway, right? I'm not using real ink. I'm using AI ink, right? It's not ink. It's lines of code creating the illusion of ink, right? So, but I'm more so interested in sharing skills of a craft that is going to be executed by a select few, an elite few. It's not for everyone. But please don't ask anybody if it's okay for you to do something. It's okay for you to be you. No, do it. Use it. You want to use AI? Good luck. I wish you the best. Right. Okay, so I'm going to call it. Thank you so much for joining me on this live stream. I've really had a lot of fun. I did not expect it to go as far as it did. Because I took it so far with those lovely keys, I then had to put in decent breakdowns, which means the whole thing took longer than I envisaged. I thought I was going to knock out a dumpy, quick TV grade animation and have you all go, wow, doesn't it look like the beast? But that's not the real animator way. I guess I just can't help being the real deal. And by leading by that example, I hope to awaken the real deal within you that's there, that's always there, right? So that R in the background, remember, keep it real. For those of you who are about to draw, I salute you. Do your work, not just your work and no more, but that little bit more for the lavishing sake, that little bit more that's worth all the rest. And if you doubt as you must, and if you suffer as you must, do your work. Put your heart into it, and the skies shall clear. Then from your very doubt and suffering shall be born the supreme joy of life. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you all on the next live stream, which may well be tomorrow. We'll see. Bye-bye.